Ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday. It's the last Thursday of April, and I'm coming to you excited from the Stockton office. Sun is shining. It's good to see some people in our space that we haven't seen in some time. It's always good when you have a family member who's went and gone away for some time and come on back. Want to just love on Princess. It's good to see you back in our space. And I hope that you won't be a stranger in this space moving forward. I will ask you if you can at all possible turn your cameras on so that we can have a direct conversation. I would really appreciate it. Let me set the premise for today's call. We're not going to be on this call for the full 60 minutes. This is not one of those calls where we're talking strategies and better practices and what to say and with the health of your CRM or any of that. For two reasons. One, we're in Stockton for an in-person that starts with Zillow and starts here right about 11:30, 11:45. And then two, something more pressing for us to talk about. So if you can place your camera on, I'm glad the call is recorded so that we don't have to repeat ourselves about the contents of this conversation today. Without further ado, we're going to get straight to it. I'm going to pull up our scoreboard. I want us to look at our scoreboard, not to blame, not to judge, or not to defend, but to take 100% ultimate accountability. So when I pull this up, let's look at the numbers because the data tells a story as a team. And I'm going to give you some feedback around what I see as leadership. And I'd be open to hear what your feedback is in terms of what you see from your lens as a producing agent. Give me a second. Bam. Bam. Can everyone see my screen? Can everyone see my screen? Okay. These are our accountability metrics. What we see over a period of time is a progressive decline in our overall numbers. And there's reasons for that. There's several contributing factors to that. But as a leader in this environment, it starts with leadership on down. What I see in this is that there's some loose bolts in our engine, and it's time for us to recalibrate. Yes, we have been running at such high RPMs over the past year with 100% to target beyond consecutive months in a row, completely changed the game, opened up into a new market. Our RPMs, we've been running at full throttle for the past year. If you're familiar with NASCAR, you ever been to a racetrack, you know, you're familiar with the term pit stop. Some of you all may know what a pit stop is, and if you don't know what a pit stop is that's that opportunity in the race where the driver kind of steps out of the race to get his tires changed or to refuel his gas tank or make some mechanical adjustments or get some quick performance tweaks so they can get back in the race and run at an optimum capacity. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to recalibrate and take a pit stop in this race. And the scoreboard is the exact reason why. This is not to blame. It's nobody's fault. It's a part of continuing to run a race at a high speed consistently. This is a part of it. So we've got to recalibrate. And then what I see here, there are simple tweaks that must happen in order to get us back to running at the RPM level that we have been for such what has now become our new normal. It's time to get back to that. And so I simply put these in front of the screen. If you notice, there is no individual names. I ain't calling no one out. I ain't asking you to defend your performance metrics or why is your answer rate. That's not this conversation. This is a team dialogue and a mutual commitment from everyone on this screen to recalibrate. If I ask you the question, which I asked a couple of weeks ago, but I'm going to ask again, if you had an honest assessment of self, are you performing at your optimal capacity? You could gesture yes or no. DB performing in his optimal capacity. I love that. Glenn is what is that, Glenn? Okay. Let's
That's
have
not my best. There's room for improvement.
let's
But
talk about it.
and you and I met last week,
Yeah.
and like I had my pit stop was last week, right?
Mhm.
That was with you and looking at my numbers and just seeing where the gap is, and it's my follow up in the very beginning. And the call that we were on 2 weeks ago was super great for me. This April has been my pit stop month, and I'm ready to go. Like I can feel the engines and the tire, like everything is hot, and I'm ready to go. And it's not about the excuses, it's about doing what it is that I am committed to do. It's no one else's fault. It's not my client's fault. It's not the market's fault. No one else's fault. It's I'm taking ownership of it, and I am moving that needle and running those RPMs up.
Man, Glenn, I appreciate your contribution and your transparency. Listen, man, pit stops, there's nothing wrong with pit stops. There's nothing wrong with recalibrations. An engine can only run at certain RPMs for so long before something begins to loosen or need to be replaced or changed, swapped out. That's a part of running a race at an optimum speed for a long period of time, or hella laps around the track. And so this is an honest assessment to just check our game around where we are and what our contributions are and what we know our fullest capacity is, and really asking ourselves, am I pushing at the limit that I know that I'm capable of, confidently, without hesitation? DB's response was absolutely, and I love that. But there's 30 more people on the screen. And it's just this is an opportunity for us to be hella transparent. I haven't been performing at my optimal capacity. And I know that there's more for me in terms of my performance, so I have to recalibrate. I'll start with self. Leadership starts with self. And so with me sometimes we have to update our operating system or dis defrag, Gary, and that's a part of it. And so this is what that conversation is actually about. And how do we get back to a tune-up? From a tune-up, how do we recalibrate? It's by going back to the fundamentals, the standards.
Lacing the shoes up, right? Lacing your shoes up.
There you go,
Learn how to tie your shoes again.
There you go, Jeezy. From the beginning. So again, this conversation is about a reestablishment and a reintroduction of the fundamentals. Here's the expectation moving forward as we recalibrate. And I ask for everyone's camera to be on so that I can see everyone's body language, because this is that conversion clinic of commitment. I want you to hold me accountable, and if I fall short of what I'm committing to, hold me accountable. If you fall short to what you're committed to, I'm asking your permission to hold you equally accountable. That's how we recalibrate. It's not a one-way street, yo. We in this as a collective, which is why no individual's agents' names are being called, but this is more of a collective call to action. Check me out. For those of us who are new to this program, these numbers may be new to you. But for those of us who've been in the program for some time, but haven't seen these numbers, well, let me reintroduce them to you, or haven't seen them in some time. From today moving forward, all of a sudden I had that whole lead up and my clicker didn't even work. You all know the performance metrics or have been made aware of them. I'm going to put them in front of you again in this recorded call on April the 30th, the last day of April, so that to ensure that it's documented that we are all on the same page. Check me out. 80% ALM rate. Going back to tying your shoes is Zillow's performance metric, and that's the performance metric that we are holding you accountable to, 80%. Now, the appointment set rate for Zillow is 80%, and we just don't think that that's realistic. But what is realistic is 60% appointment set rate. Now, when you go back to the scorecard, we hover right around that. Now, it's yellow because Zillow's threshold is 80, which would make it green, but the threshold internally is 60%. Of those 60%, ladies and gentlemen, this is where it gets a little tricky. Zillow's threshold is 45. Internally for us, it's 40% of the leads that you meet with. In our team scorecard, this is where we're seeing the biggest delta between set and met. We began to talk about that a bit in the conversion clinic a couple of weeks ago, but I don't know who that is. As it relates to performance metrics and the understanding and the introduction of what the standard is and what I will be held accountable to and what I'm going to hold you accountable to, I want to make sure we're on the same page. Now, 25% showing, ladies and gentlemen, I wish I could I could toggle between multiple screens. Come on, man. The show rate is 30% threshold for Zillow. Our show rate is a third of what it possibly can be. Our appointment met rate is a third below what it possibly can be. This has a direct implication on the amount of offers that we're writing and the amount of offers that are getting accepted that are converting into closed transactions. It's happening right here in this delta. There's a reason for that. And we're going to start, but this ain't about calling folks out. This is about getting on the same page. But if we are more intentional, when we are more intentional and strategic about closing that gap and holding to that standard, we're going to write more offers. You're going to convert more transactions. 5% conversion rate is the national average. Who on this call, by a show of hands, has a 5% conversion rate or above? Jeezy, I see Gary, Aaron. Who else has a 5% conversion rate or above? I hope you know what your conversion percentage is. Mauricio, is that your yes?
We talking the last 3 months, 6 months, lifetime.
I'm sorry about that. Oh, I'm sorry about that, old dog. Good point of clarity. Over the past 6 months.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay. Oldest, anyone else? 5% conversion rate. This is the work. Now, Maria, I know that you're new. I recognize that you're new. I expect your conversion rate percent to be at 5% here very shortly. So as a disclaimer, for everyone else though, this is our threshold, ladies and gentlemen. This is our threshold. And as a collective, we've been missing the mark. And the only reason that we've been missing, well, there are a couple, but the contributing factors, we've got to recalibrate. It's time for a pit stop. And here is that pit stop. What time is it? I'm doing good on time. Take your pen and write this down. This strategic reset is effective today. Hold on, old dog. Go ahead, Otis. I want to get your sentiment before we go into the next piece.
Yeah, I just wanted to know because I had a conversation about this other day. Like, there is so many new faces. Like, some of the numbers may just see a small increase. Like you said, just the smallest basic thing, like knowing how to funnel up the app the right way. Mm-hmm. So, even myself as a seasoned agent, sometimes I ain't gonna lie, I'm giving 15, 20 leads a day and shit. It's hard to remember, go back to the app. So just some little things like that might see the score overall. And I hate to sound like that dude, but it's hurting the rest of us when you ain't doing those little things. So just being cautious that it's not just you not answering the phone, not doing that. It hurts the overall scores to the newer people and even the older people too. Like, we own this program for a reason to do those small things. And I think those are some of the things that correlate to the next phase of those assets not being hit.
100%. I couldn't agree with you 100%, Otis. Thank you for that contribution, man. So again, if you're new or have been in the program for some time, but we have gotten away from the holding the line on the standard. This is a reintroduction. Here's what we do next. There's 2 steps of a part of this recalibration. Moving forward, our conversion clinic goes back to every Thursday. However, if you're at a 5% conversion rate or above, you're not required to be there every Thursday. So the Dominions that raise their hand, or the people that raise their hand about being at 5% or above conversion. Oh, that wasn't you, D. That was you saying that you optimizing full capacity. All right. Okay. All right. My bad. Thank you for the points of clarity, bro. For those of you who raised your hand in response to your conversion rate being at a 5% over the past 6 months, Otis, thanks for that clarity of times of time frame. By twice a month is the expectation for you being in the space. However, if your conversion percentage is below 5, until we get you or you get your percentage up above 5, you're expected to be in that space every Thursday. Second piece, there's hella talent in this space. Got some sharks in here. We're talking beyond online lead conversion. I'm talking just agent profile, capabilities, and production. I wanted to call on you, your talents, your skills, and your abilities to contribute where you feel you have contributions in the conversion clinic space. So once a month, we're going to have an agent-led conversion clinic. If you're one of those agents who know that you have value to contribute, if you're one of those agents who want to get into the sharing and empowering and providing strategies or better practices that you've learned that work, we want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. And your peers, you have something to share with your peers. If you are one of those agents, I want you to hit me on Slack. It's too much leadership in this room for me to be the only person talking. And it's too much, it's a whole bunch of ideas, different voices, presentation styles in this environment to not leverage it. We on the same page? Conversion Clinics weekly starts today. So I'll see you guys next Thursday at 11 a.m. Now, if you knew, well, let me just lay this out for the entire group. Any wavering, any performance below the standard triggers an automatic pause. I want to make sure we clear here. If your performance metrics fall below the thresholds that were just presented before you guys during that brief recalibration conversation, it will result in being paused and us having a coaching session that really delves into where the challenges, the bottlenecks, and the hangups that are reflective in your data, and how do we tighten that gap so that you can perform at an optimal capacity. Is everyone on the same page? I don't want anyone saying, Coach, you being harsh, or V, I didn't hear you, or I wasn't there. That's what it is moving forward. That's a part of the recalibration. We in the pit stop. When we come out the pit stop, we fueled, we got new tires, we mechanically sound, and we go back to running at the RPMs that we have been running at for over the past 16 months. Do I have your commitment? Is everybody on the same page? I'm super excited about what the fuck we're about to do. And we go into battle with the 30 people on this call. That's all I got for you. So free up the rest of your day. Be productive with your day, whether it's personally or professionally. Enjoy a little bit of this sun if you at all possibly can. Princess, was sorry to disappoint you, but it's good to see your face by not holding you for the whole 60 minutes. I'm looking forward to seeing each and every one of you all take it to the next level. DB, you operating at your optimal capacity, put your foot on the gas, bro. Got way more room for it. Yes, turn that shit all the way up. Yo, we turning up the volume. The engine is recalibrated. Let's go back and push at a newer level. Grace, peace, and blessings to you guys, man. Crush your weekend. I'll see you next Thursday. Peace.